We'll get started in less than a minute.
Same thing, right?
Welcome, everyone.
Still there? At the NAS? Close. Okay. When they get open.
All right, let's see.
I'm glad that it's happening, and I'm glad that
I'm like,
But you're adjacent.
but I have an accent.
yeah, I think
Nice.
But it's just kind of like all the different public engagement they did. I know some of the breakers.
kind of what the takeaways were.
It's interesting.
Is there a?
Oh, really?
Oh. I recognize
No,
that.
I just opened it.
Yeah, I read all the
It's right
summaries.
here.
All right.
Happened to scroll
It
down
is
today,
4
so
p.m. on October 21st, 2025, and welcome to the City of Iowa City work session. We're going to start with agenda item number 1, which is a joint meeting with the Planning and Zoning Commission. We're going to be going over the comprehensive plan update. Before we get started, just wanted to go ahead and welcome our commissioners. And, you know, we don't see you all often, so we'd just like to maybe have you introduce yourself and to the council, if you don't mind. We'll start with legendary Commissioner Billy Townsend.
Billy Townsend, Planning and Zoning Commission, and almost 40-year Iowa City resident.
Great, awesome.
James Davies, Planning and Zoning Commission, also a 40-year Iowa City resident, born and raised. Fairly new to the commission, but excited to hear about the comprehensive plan updates.
Great.
Steve Miller, also on the Planning and Zoning Commission, 10-year Iowa City resident, and this is my first year on the P&Z, also an architect in town, and I'm on the Strategic Plan Steering Committee, so I've enjoyed that process.
Great.
Maggie Elliott, Planning and Zoning. I bet I'm a 40-year resident, too.
Great, awesome. Well, welcome to all of you. We'll get started with the comprehensive plan update, and I'll just turn it right on over to you.
Okay. Mayor and council members, planning commissioners, my name is Christopher Shires, principal with Confluence, with the consultant team. The city has hired to lead this process on updating your comprehensive plan. I have a brief presentation to give you an update of where we're at on the planning process. And so want to do a recap of the public engagement that we've wrapped up, then go through some of the details of what we've heard from the community members, talk about that statistically valid survey that I believe you've all have received a copy of it.
I'm going to have you speak directly into the
Oh,
mic,
am I
please.
not being loud enough? Oh, I can be a lot louder. I
All right,
apologize.
thank you.
Okay, Christopher Shires, principal with Confluence. So with this presentation, also want to get into the results of that community survey, just hit some of the highlights, as well as go through the key themes and takeaways that we've developed. And then I want to pause and make sure I answer any questions you may have. And frankly, would love to know your thoughts and ideas as we kind of reveal at least what we've heard from the community. Would love to know your surprises and then what's next from here. So moving right in. So for public engagement, we had kind of a robust process, series of community listening sessions, neighborhood meetings, pop-up events, and then some strategic charrettes as well for a couple of key areas in the community. We also have our online engagement website because not everybody was able to participate with us in person. We want to make sure that we have a lot of different methods for people to provide their input to us. All of this was a strategic effort, and so on this slide, we're just kind of showing the details of all these different methods to meet with the community, as well as the different ways that we ask them for their feedback and input, so we could then correlate that into some results. Marketing of this was very important. We worked very closely with your staff for those social media pushes, the QR code handouts for our link to the website. We did things in multiple languages, and in particular Arabic and Spanish. We had some direct postcard and mailings, and of course our online engagement website. So first off, I want to talk a little bit about our stakeholder interviews and our focus group meetings. And so we reached out to about 75 individuals, various community members representing a lot of different agencies, individual aspects of the community. I had a great response at 38 interviews. I conducted most of them personally, and it was a lot of fun. I met a lot of really great folks doing some really wonderful things in your community. We also had a series of focus group meetings with various interests. And what we heard from the stakeholders, really we bucketed into kind of 6 big things. It was all about housing, our environment and the climate, arts and public spaces, economic development, transportation, and social services. In those different focus group meetings, we did break them down into some neighborhood areas, so a northwest, southwest group, a north and northeast group, central, south, south, and southeast group, and a little bit of a summary of some of the things we heard. We also continued with non-downtown businesses, bicyclists and pedestrians, and a housing focus group. Climate Action Commission we met with, as well as specifically our Planning and Zoning Commission to get some feedback directly from them. Not to forget that we also had ETC out of Kansas City conduct a statistically valid survey for the community. This is a way to reach out a little bit wider, but get results that we have a little more statistic comfort with. And so they received 421 completed surveys from their randomized households that they selected. This gives them a 95% level of confidence in the results, and so that statistical error of plus or minus 4.8. This little pin map in red shows all those different households, so it's a good cross-section throughout the community, areas with more housing, more density. Of course, those dots are a little bit denser also, to really show that we're hitting the entire community and getting a balanced response. Couple of key takeaways from the survey. One, people are generally very pleased with the community. So when you look at the perception of the city based on a national average, we're having a positive as a place to live, that almost 95% response. Whereas when we ask that question universally across the country from all the other cities and communities, ETC surveys, they're more at a 49% response. And then when we look at that regional, that same kind of percentage, almost 95% versus 50%. So people are very positive about Iowa City, and I heard that. In fact, a lot of the comments are, we're great, we want to be even better. We want to take ourselves to the next level. There are specific concerns and items that we need to address and work on, and I think you're aware of many of them, but a lot of positivity around our community. When we ask some questions specifically on the level of importance of certain topics, things that rose to the top, parks and recreation, open space, education, water and sewer service, public safety, climate action, and then preservation of existing and development of affordable housing. When we asked about a level of agreement about what should we be thinking about in the future, what are those important things, more sidewalks, walking paths, trails, more affordable housing. You definitely hear that housing theme roll throughout this as well. When we ask about some other questions that are a little more land use based, so what do we want to see in our community? What are some things we need related to live, work, shop, play? More daycares, more public parks, plazas, open space, more senior housing were some of the top vote getters. When we hit into kind of summarizing all this, so we have the survey, we have those stakeholder interviews, we've had all those public events, public meetings, the city's website. We boiled it down into 8 strategic themes, these key takeaways. And we did review this with our advisory committee, and they actually helped us massage these a little bit. And I'm going to run through each of the 8 specifically with you, and I'd love to know your thoughts as I go through these. So 1, housing for all, includes housing affordability, variability, so a lot of different housing types needed, and accessibility to housing. 2, sustainability and resiliency, includes our responsiveness and resiliency to changing climate conditions and increasing our biodiversity in our community. 3, culture and placemaking, includes community identity, enhancements through intentional branding of our entrances into the community, as well as developing third places. These are those other public gathering spaces. for economic development, strategic investment into our economic development through incentives, other programs, as well as attracting childcare and development, and even how we interact with our river. 5, transportation and mobility. This includes pedestrian and cyclist safety, expanding public transit. A lot of love for what we have today with public transit, with your bus service, always wanting more. Everybody always wants more, but a lot of love for what's going on now. And then improving our sidewalks and our pedestrian crossings. City services is number 6, and includes enhancing city services that we're providing and those amenities, programming, and then other incentives that we may be able to have in place to encourage development. Number 7, parks and recreation. Love what we have, always want more. Includes improving current park experience, expanding what we have for recreational opportunities, and again, that reference back to the Iowa River, and maybe even a future sports park or additional ball fields. And then community collaboration. This was kind of an interesting one to get so much feedback for a comprehensive plan. As you all know, there's a lot of great nonprofit organizations doing a lot of wonderful things. This desire for more public-private partnerships, collaboration, coordination between all these various entities that are trying to do so many good things in the community. Now, what I should have started out when I talked about those big 8 is those are not in any particular order. They're all important. There's all components that are important. And then certain things with a comprehensive plan, we're able to have more influence. So things related to housing. Some things we're not able to have as much influence with a comprehensive plan, say some of those community collaborations, but we didn't want to shy away from anything we heard from the public. So what I'm curious, and I was trying to go fast, what I'm curious about is in my presentation here, did anything surprise you? Do you think anything's missing from this big list of 8? And frankly, I'm here for any other questions or comments you have for me.
I'll jump in. Christopher, you mentioned all the different ways in which you gathered feedback, and I know there was a lot of open-ended or questions that are kind of answered on a scale. So we have spectrums of responses that we're looking at. And it strikes me that there's also a lot of overlap, both with these 8 categories of things, which all resonate, and I think all make sense to us up here. But there's also overlap in some of the survey questions. So can you just speak to how we can most effectively parse that out when it comes to the actual comprehensive plan document?
Right. And that is an excellent question. And it's taking everything with a bit of grain of salt and a little bit of education to understand where that information came from. So it's very purposeful that when we're doing a comprehensive plan, that we're asking the same question multiple different ways at multiple different venues. So we start hearing the themes. And so really, when we develop this 8 and all the kind of the verbiage that goes underneath them, and they're a little bit longer, went into a little more detail with your advisory committee, it's the things that are a little more reoccurring, or the things that got a little bit louder when I was meeting one-on-one with, say, a community member, or having a one-on-one conversation at a meeting. So it's the things that come up more regularly, a little bit louder, or the things that we think address maybe multiple comments or multiple concerns. Or sometimes, and this is where, especially your role as elected official, it's where we try to draw the line. There are certain things that we can do to impact housing that may not be specifically brought up, but we know from our work that it's something that can help move the needle, move the ball forward on a desired goal. And so it's really looking at the data in total, how often certain themes and things reoccur in the comments, how strong those comments, and even the source of the comments. And that's also a little bit why we're here, to try to help your way through that. Because it's not easy, and that's one of the big fun things about a comprehensive plan. We're not just talking to housing, we're not just talking about parks, we're talking about all the different things cities are responsible for.
I thank you so much for, this was really amazing to read through this whole thing. Lots of graphs that I will be gloating over the fact that 82% of people who live in Iowa City see themselves living here 5 years from now. I think that sounded high to me. I don't know, for a small city in Iowa. I was curious with question 2, because of the kind of like ranked choice model that you used in this question, I just kind of found it interesting that education was at the top.
Right.
And I guess I just don't know what potentially the city's role could be in addressing education, or if it would be us working with the Iowa City Community School District or the university. Just like, can you tell us like maybe what types or kinds of education you were hearing, context of that answer?
Yeah. So another really great question, and I love it that you're going through the ETC survey in great painstaking detail. Please continue to go through it. There's a lot of good information there. So some of these are a little bit of those kind of broad category responses. So education can mean a lot of things. And so what we do is pull in then some of those other feedback points we've heard. And so some of it is the desire that our K through 12 schools, especially public, continue to perform well. That what can we do to make sure our school district's strong and healthy, continuing to be a place of choice, because that supports economic development, housing, everything else in our community. It's a quality of life issue. I also would say that strong response, because normally education is always a top response in most communities. Yours is also heavily weighted just because of the university influence. And so the understanding the great partnership and the importance of the university and its role in the community, and it, frankly, bringing jobs and quality of life considerations as well. And so I think that's why that one is extra high. It's because normally K through 12 is pretty darn important, but you also have that university influence. And so really my bigger takeaway is to continue your partnerships, continue to be strategic on how you're working with both the university, the public school district, and frankly, even any of your private providers as well.
Thank you.
Some of the narratives that isn't fully captured surrounding some of the things that rose to the top, so housing and stuff like that. Do you know if folks were more specific as to some solutions, and is that something that will also be kind of outline some of those solutions?
Yes, absolutely. And so we do have some very, very specific recommendations or thoughts and ideas that we received from especially some of the stakeholders that are very engaged in the topic of housing. And so whether it's on the affordable housing or housing availability or even senior housing. And so as we start in the next phase, which is actually plan drafting, we'll get very specific in that feedback back with those, we have this housing goal. So what are those specific action steps or recommendations, objectives, even policy considerations that we can provide to you to say, consider doing this, consider this as an action item. And so, yeah, and I can even think of just one off the top of my head that we will definitely be bringing forward for your consideration.
Sure, and I just use housing as one example, but there's a lot of things that were assessed, and even though we have a lot of minds between the council and the P&Z and staff, I still think that there are other solutions that we may not have thought of, and so just wanted to make sure that some of that might have been, if it was offered, you still have to use some discretion as to if it is a viable, thing to push forward. So I appreciate hearing that we'll be hearing some of those opportunities.
Absolutely, and that's a little bit of our process. We don't want to keep anything from you. We want to share all that we heard and learned, but we also want to bring back what we think are some practical, workable solutions, both as the consultant, a little bit as your city staff, as well as their input and ideas, your advisory committee that you've provided to us, that we can help kind of vet through some of those. Because, yeah, you're right. Sometimes we can have a really great idea, but maybe there's something they're unaware of that legally as a city we can't do that. Or, that's been something that is not an authority we have to do. Or is there another way to get to that same end goal? And that's what we'll bring back to you.
Great. One last thing somewhat relating to that you just mentioned are some of those solutions. There are some realities where And I know Commissioner Townsend says this a lot, affordable to who, right?
yeah.
And so when we are talking about affordability, even though there are some numbers that are already out there, but some of those really don't work in the real world. So I don't know how much of that could be mentioned, or these are our realities of the funding sources, but this is what we know are the realities of individuals and the max of their 30% of what they can pay and that type stuff.
Absolutely, yes. In fact, we received some very specific feedback exactly to what you're talking about as well. And so I think we can bring some of that back to you.
Great, thanks.
Yeah.
I just want to ask you about the numbers of the surveys. I always, when come to like really big decision about a comprehensive plan or strategic planning, normally the more people engage is better. And I see that the survey that they receive is only 421 surveys. I don't know how many they send out, and they got 421. But Iowa City is 75,000 people or more. So don't you think like 421 survey, 421 people to decide for the whole city what our comprehensive plan look like? Isn't that low?
And great question, and I'd love to get into a little bit on that. And so one reason why we wanted to do, or we had recommended doing a statistically valid survey, is in comprehensive planning, it can be hard to get it's hard to get numbers to show up, especially when people are in general happy. If people are really, really mad about something or a specific topic, well, as you know, they show up. But generally, when we're talking something a little more broad, like a comprehensive plan, and they're generally happy with their community and what's going on, it's hard to get participation. One of the things that's great about a statistically valid survey is we have that comfort that this does represent a wide cross-section or the entire community, is because of the methodology. And so being statistically valid, that 421 is a great survey response. In fact, their minimum to us back was either 350 or 400. They said, we won't stop until we at least get 350 or 400 from our randomized household. And I don't remember if they picked 800 or what number they started out with, but from their statistical calculations, getting to 350 or 400 met the metric as being statistically valid, that we can have a lot of confidence. In this case, they said 95% confidence that this does represent the community, and has everything to do with the fact that it's randomized. You did not have an option to be selected for a survey. In fact, even where I live, my city uses ETC. I get excited the one time in my life that I got picked. My household got picked, and I filled out the survey out right away, and I'm like, yay, this is great. And so because of that randomized nature, and then their internal metrics of trying to get that response rate, and they have some procedures on how they actually push to get a response rate, they're very confident that this is a good cross-section. Because even when we do our public engagement, we have our public meetings, our neighborhood meetings, or our website, I can't tell you it was a full cross-section of the community. That's where we fight really hard, and we like to do the stakeholder interviews to make sure I'm hearing all the different voices possible. And so that's why I love doing the surveys. And so I'd say that was a good number, actually.
Yeah, and my other question, I know this is random selections, but still, is this survey has been translated to another language?
Yes.
How many with another language surveys have they received?
I do not have that information in me. I believe that detail is within the full body of the report they did submit to us. I'd have to go flip through it to find those pages. But it was available. We had it available in 6, 7, 8 languages, quite a few. And then they follow up very specifically with those households that they know from various data sources where maybe English is not the primary language spoken at home. And so that was part of their task. That was part of our requirement of ETC, is to go out of their way to make sure we're getting all household voices heard.
I really would love to know that, because when you say like most of the people are heavy, you know, that's great to like have the people like live here and heavier. But I know that there is some people who struggle and they will mention that. And I would love to know how many surveys in another language have you received back, or how many survey has been sent out. And most likely, sometimes people just don't like surveys.
Yeah.
I understand that too.
Yep, and so on how the statistically valid survey, the randomized households, they have data sources, because we all use smartphones and other things to communicate, where they have information that is publicly available on the languages spoken at various homes. And so if they have a specific property, they have data sources that says this is likely an English-speaking household, or maybe it's a Spanish-speaking household. And so they were targeting in those specific languages to those households for that follow-up, so that they could get to this good cross-section and randomized.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can you speak a little bit about the selection criteria? I mean, it is exhaustive. It's wonderful, but I was just curious if you have any information about, randomly, which 3 items. This is in question 16, right? So there's all those selections of your top choice, and I just wondered about those criteria that then people could select from.
Right.
How did that come into being? I mean, did you sort of cross-reference that with things that were in our existing comp plan or strategic plan, or is this ends up being sort of, common, almost like a database of like, these are the types of things that are really good, are community-driven or community attractions that people tend to gravitate towards. I just want to know a little bit more about the selection of what people got to select.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's a great question for us. And so a little bit of both. And so this was very customized specifically for Iowa City, but frankly, it was a lot of input from both what we as your consultant team recommended as questions to ask when we've done this for other communities, as well as ETC. They're really good about wording. Kind of helps with, we can't make the survey too long. You make it too long, nobody wants to finish it. We want a good completion rate as well. So it's a little bit of, these are the things we're kind of curious as we're going to craft a comprehensive plan. So it's that balance of, we try to get very specific, but we can't get so specific because it gets hard.
Right.
And so it was really based on our experience of questions to ask, as well as ETC's questions. And then, of course, vetting it with your city staff as well. But it was on your consultant team.
Well, and I also liked very much that there was other, and then people took that opportunity as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, it was fun to read through some of the individual comments, or when people did the fill in the blank.
You mentioned that the next step is drafting the plan. Is that right? Okay, and I don't want to get ahead of it, but I do know that we're seeing the comprehensive plan overhaul as like a big step towards what then we will undertake our zoning code overhaul. So with that in mind, is this plan going to be kind of like a modification of the existing plan? Are we starting more from scratch? Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, another great question. We don't throw away the old plan. That is always in consideration, but this is a brand new plan. So we're giving you, we're not cutting and pasting, it's brand new. So it'll be a new chapter structure, and it'll be a brand new future land use map, recommendations, all of that in there. And I can even talk, so really, we've wrapped up that phase 2, the public engagement, and now we're right into that, which is a little bit on talking with you today, but phase 3, where we're kind of fleshing out these kind of the big strategic goals, the big themes, these key ideas. But then we'll get into the plan drafting in phase 4, where we review it, and forgive me for the steering committee having to spend so much time on this, but we have a whole series of meetings with our advisory committee to actually go through chapter by chapter with us. When we're in a comfortable spot, we feel like we're in a good direction, but it's still very much a draft. That's when we bring it back out to the community and say, okay, folks, this is what we heard from you. This is what we drafted. Did we get this right? Does this address what you told us? Does this make sense? so that then there's that level of comfort that this is what the community wants, that as we bring it back to you as the Planning Commission and you as the elected officials.
Related to that, our current comprehensive plan has a lot of appendages, lots of district plans. How will that be addressed with the future forthcoming comprehensive plan? Will those be folded into a redo, or will we continue to have multiple appendices with the different comp plan add-ons?
It's going to be my goal, and I want to make sure I didn't go. We're very flexible and adaptable to make this plan the way you want it. However, our recommendation is that we're really creating, if we're going to have any appendix sections, that it's new, it's updated. And so even some of those district plans, that the thought process might be that we start sliding away from those and really have a much more robust future land use plan that is a cohesive one-piece document. And then, even onto the comments of the next steps, give some big picture direction on what to watch for in the code updates as well. What are those things we're trying to affect and change? That we're doing some of that vetting for you with this comprehensive plan.
Can I jump in real fast? Have you found that, have you had similar experiences elsewhere where that move from sort of a quilt, if you will, of district plans to, like you said, a more robust overall comprehensive plan? Have you seen success in that?
Yes, from a
How
predictive.
to define success, by the way.
Every community is different, and there's more than one correct way to do anything. But based on some of the initial feedback we've had on the district level plans, maybe not being exactly what you want or need, that it may be a better structure to be a little more specific with your future land use plan, the map itself, some of the goals, policies. They can be focused into certain areas, but so many of them also apply more citywide. And my concern is maybe some of the district plans locked you in a box a little too far as well. Again, ultimately, we're going to do, what works best for you. But right now, that's kind of where I'm thinking and where I'm, based on the kind of the feedback I might suggest we head to. And then, this actually is really common kind of on how we're doing comprehensive planning, that we have this really robust future land use section, land use plan section, that really helps serve as the basis for any zoning code, subdivision regulation updates, let alone that perfect tool or better tool to then evaluate development proposals as they come in and rezonings. And frankly, as new territory might be added to the city, that's what I want to give you guys, is this really good tool that your planning commission uses to when they're making a recommendation on to you as the elected officials.
To continue on the same theme, I totally understand why professional city staff would want to rein in all of these appendices, especially because they've developed asymmetrically. Some of them are really well developed, or lots of engagement, and there's a lot of precision in what should be a comprehensive plan, and some have just were developed and left to sort of linger. So I think that from a planning perspective, it makes sense to bring them in. But did you have the level of conversation with community members who feel it's very important for them that they have specific control or say over their neighborhood or their district? In your conversations or through survey, were you able to glean that, whether or not that's really important to members of our community or not?
In those focus group meetings where we met with so many of the different kind of neighborhood areas and those neighborhood representatives, it was a little bit of a mixed bag. Many of them had no idea there was a district plan. Some of them said, this isn't doing anything for us. And then others, I would say, had concern with change in their area over time. And that's where I think we can still address some of those concerns with a more robust future land use plan. That I'm not sure that these area plans, these district plans, are giving you what you want and what you need.
Is it fair to say the central district plan is the one that probably has a lot of engagement?
Yes, that would be fair. And that may be something that is, maybe there's one that's a holdover or a redo or an update.
Okay.
And that's not uncommon. It's much less common to have so many individual like neighborhood plans. It's normally reserved only for like a downtown, kind of a special interest area.
Yeah. I don't want to monopolize. Can you go back 2 slides, or maybe it's just one slide? Yeah, so for all of these items, except for, well, 6 and 8, but mostly 6, I'm curious to hear more about what is city services, because everything up there is a service. What is city services getting that's not in the other 7 items, and how does that influence the comprehensive plan?
So here's one of the fun things when we try to come up with the big buckets to try to put things under. And when we get into goals and recommendations, you're going to run into this again. Often, one theme or idea could fall under several different areas. So there is a bit of overlap. Because, I could almost make that culture and placemaking argument is something related to parks and recreation. Sustainability and resiliency can have even a tie to economic development. So sometimes there is a little bit overlap. City services, I might kind of give you the umbrella. That's the really important fundamental things we need. They're just not quite so sexy. It's a little more of the flush, drink, drive. We got to have roads, we got to have water, we got to have sewer. Those types of services, let alone, building inspection, rental housing inspection, all those other types of nuts and bolts services that are so darn important, but they're not as shiny.
Because we are in that kind of visioning and goal establishment, can you talk a little bit about maybe some of the shifts from the existing comprehensive plan, kind of what's kind of gone up, what's gone down as far as priorities are concerned?
Yeah, a great challenge question there too. This is going to sound like an easy answer. Housing's always been important. It's never been more important. So housing is definitely, since your last comprehensive plan, moved up quite a bit. To some extent, even how we're thinking about sustainability and resiliency has changed. When you see more information on this, I think you're going to see a lot more about storm hazard, resiliency to, severe weather incidents, things like that. The other one is placemaking. That's become more and more of an important emphasis when we're doing community planning, is thinking long-term quality of life. Why do people want to live here? It's not just because they can get a job, find a house. They also want to be in a community they love, that there's things to do, there's great places to be. Parks has always been important, but I didn't want to say that in front of any Parks and Rec staff.
Okay, I guess it's me. And my mic is coming apart. Couple of things. I'm happy to hear that you're not just giving us more questions, which for 40 years, we've heard the concerns of Iowa City, but you're also going to offer some solutions, possible solutions we buy into. When we talk about housing, though, are we talking about home ownership or are we talking about rentals? Because there's a big difference in how a family pursues that and what an effect it has on the community. So I hope that you're talking more home ownership than we are rentals, which have a cap on how long those rentals will last. So we're not really attacking that affordable housing piece. Education, I guess I keep hearing all this about higher education is not that important anymore. Now, why is that?
Okay.
As our higher education versus trades. So I hope that that's part of what you're going to talk about. The other thing, there's one other thing. I guess those are the big points I wanted, was the affordable housing piece and the education piece, because I keep hearing, I was of the group that education was everything. And with this younger generation, seems to not be as important. And what's the cost of it versus trade? What's the placement of jobs versus trades? So I just want to make sure that those are covered in that piece.
Yeah, I very much appreciate that. Though, if I can just respond on the housing, it's a little bit on why we say housing for all, because it is. We do see the importance of not just a rental housing product, but an owner-occupied housing product, a affordable, very affordable, or even fully subsidized to high-end executive. And so I really see that there's demand at all price points and needs at all prices. Obviously, the harder ones for the market to bear are those affordable products, whether it's entry-level single-family, which is just impossible, or very affordable three-bedroom apartments, which are another near impossible.
Well, Iowa
the
City's been
market
put
to
in this
bear.
very strange position where we've got the university with some top salaries, and then we've got a lot of people that don't have homes at all.
Yes.
So when you combine those and then give us what the formula says that we're supposed to have, it's pretty outrageous.
Yeah.
But I guess that's what I'm throwing back to you to.
You have quite the dichotomy in the spectrum for housing here. Absolutely, and need.
All right.
So I do have one final question.
All right,
And I'm not exactly sure how to phrase it, but I was looking through the various selection criteria on a number of questions. And I found it really interesting because it was very high up. It's question number 12, and it talks about land use and development and sort of what would you like to see more of, about the same or fewer. But that was the only question that actually talked about daycares, and yet I know it ranked very high in terms of need, right? It was
Right.
within, because it rose to the top 4. And so I'm just kind of curious because earlier on when you were talking, you said one of the things that's great about these surveys is you can ask the same question in multiple ways. And so this is the only question that I saw that actually had that selection. So on the one hand, it might seem like an outlier. On the other, as you're combing through all the data, I think that would be something, and perhaps it came through in other ways, in one-on-ones or your focus groups, but that seems to be something as well to kind of maybe dig into if possible, because it's certainly something that we know is an issue. I mean, it is nationally and certainly statewide, but here too, so.
Yeah, and that's a great one. And so definitely in stakeholder interviews, focus group meetings, as well as some of the listening sessions, heard that over and over. And that's why that does pop up on our list as an important topic. And frankly, some people gave us some very specific ideas
Great.
of options.
That would be
None of
fantastic.
them are easy, but
Yeah.
on trying to address daycare.
Yeah, I just thought it was very interesting because
Yeah.
it stood out to me, but then as I was coming through, it's like, oh, it's actually only on one question. So
Yeah.
I love that it still rose up as a point of
Sure did.
focus.
Do you have any examples on what some of those community suggestions were?
One was direct subsidy for employee pay. And I believe there was one program that did that, and that's either expired or wasn't. I don't know that the funding continued. I'd have to go back and look at my notes, but that was one of the specific ones. There are some other little tricks. We always make sure, regulatory-wise, are there any barriers to the in-home daycares? Are there any other, issues or concerns? I don't know anything like that yet, but that one of those top ones that comes to mind was just pay, trying to increase the pay of the actual providers. I know the profitability for even a commercial center is hard.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yes. And I want to thank the commissioners as well for attending. Yes. All right, great. Enjoy the rest of the day. Good to see you guys.
So we're being dismissed. Thank you for inviting us.
Yes. Thank you. Have a good one.
I don't want to close this.
All right. All right, we're going to move on with our agenda. We're going to move on to item number 2, clarification of agenda items. All right, right, we're going to move on to item number 3, information packet discussion, October 9th. October 16th.
Yeah, in October 16, let me see what IBs is. Anyway, the City Manager Housing Information. So, I've been talking about this as we need this information so we can just remind ourselves about it. I don't know if you guys, this is really have a lot of good information. Each time I read it, it just like have rich informations. I like it. But you know, I was really hoping that if we can put the numbers of the, you know, of the how many people are like in the waiting list, or like the homeless people also in, you know, in the agenda, the formal agenda somewhere. This is in the info package, you know. Sometimes I struggle myself to find things like on the IBs. Like I have to scroll down and go click on the, you know, to find it. So, but I just want only two like square kind of in the front page of the agenda. Just not all this information, only how many people are in the waiting list. So we can just look at it and see from last month if this has been reduced, increased, or whatever. When I said this last time, I meant in the agenda, the main agenda.
So you would just want maybe just like 2 or 3 numbers, the number of people on the waiting list for public housing, the number of people who are unsheltered homeless?
Homeless.
Okay.
That's only that.
Or just like 2 numbers, just like unsheltered homeless, this number.
2 number, yeah, whatever, they can be creative. But to be there, so we can just like look at it like this. And
Are you referring to this?
yeah, but only the last 2 number here. See, it look like how many people in the waiting list, you know, for the housing voucher. And because we don't get update for the homeless like regularly, even that's fine. Like whenever we get it, we can change the numbers. But for the waiting list, Iowa City Housing Authority waiting list.
Yeah. I mean, I have no problem with that.
Yeah, it's on page 233, the chart that I think is what you're asking for is just the October 2025 numbers. Currently
Yes. This is a monthly number, and, you know, I just wanted to see it monthly, one time a month, you know, it's not like really. Yeah. It does. You know, I want to make sure like people are agreeing to this because this is going to go to the agenda.
So my assumption is it's just at the top of the agenda, or it's somewhere on the agenda.
Yeah, it's just like a box in the agenda, housing. I don't know, what is the agenda?
But it won't be
It's not an item, though.
I mean,
Yeah.
I would think it would just be something to put on the front of the agenda, so it would remind us of the numbers to make sure,
It just
you know, just
remind us,
something.
we need to work on this.
And also so the public can have better access to that information instead of it being on page
Exactly.
whatever, on IP whatever, you know, which is, yeah.
if it needed to be attached to an item, we could, I mean, granted, it's at the end of the agenda, but there is council information. We could put that there as well, if it needed to be attached to a specific item, right?
Yeah, I don't have any objection to highlighting the waiting list, putting that in front of our faces. I just wonder about if the intent is to have it be, is it more for us or is it more for the public? And like, just to make sure that it's the most effective tool for whatever piece of information we're wanting them to have. So
I
if
think
it's,
it's for everyone because, You know, even the people who really care about housing, they don't have to call the city of Iowa City each time and ask them, hey, how many people you have in the waiting list? And like something there, it will specific the need for everyone. And I don't see like this is going to change anything. This is the only thing is going to highlight what the need is. And that's it.
Do you think a lot of people who want to know that information are looking at the agenda, or do you think they're going to like the city?
No, they're going everywhere.
They're going to the city's
No.
website.
If somebody want to do a research or anything like about that, they are not going to look at our agenda.
I think Councilor Burgess' question is a good one, though, is if we're trying to help, who are we trying to help and how do we best help them? And I don't have any objections to it being printed in multiple locations. I just am thinking what's the most effective and who are we trying to serve? And I don't have a problem finding it myself, but if there are people in the community who want to find it, maybe there's a website location that would make it easier.
Not everybody go to the website. The agenda is printed here. Everybody can do it. Like, and also like going there. If you just write Iowa City Council agenda, it will pop up. Not like going somewhere else and going like everywhere. So.
I view it as, for one, just council and staff accountability, self-accountability, you know, just like looking at the numbers every time, you know, every time we open up the agenda. Not to say that we're not all thinking about it, but reminders aren't bad. And also, if we get people who maybe didn't know, just looking at the agenda for another reason, it's just front and center, just kind of the facts of where we are. These are how many people are on the street. These are how many people are waiting for the voucher list. And then if they have questions about that, they can talk to us or staff about it, and then that can bring people into the conversation. And yeah.
Does this serve as notice?
Well, I was just thinking about that too. I mean, as council's aware, the normal split between the information packet and the agenda is for informational purposes, which I think this is, versus action items that require council votes. And if I'm understanding it correctly, this is still an informational sheet. I would want to make sure that if we did want to somehow add it to, let's say, the cover page of the agenda, that it wouldn't somehow imply that this is a discussion item or an action item, unless council deliberately wanted that to be the case. But I would hate for either the members of the public to be misled into thinking that this is going to be an item which they can come and give public comment on and you know, discuss as a specific agenda item, or that council was going to be taking action some way or another on this item. And I'm a little fearful that if we put it on the formal agenda, that might be implied. Now, we could, you know, be explicit in saying that that's not the case. This is for informational purposes only and so forth. But I guess one of my concerns would be, this is an item that we'd like to highlight, and I think that's great. You know, next month, will there be another item? And then before we know it, the whole information packet is found. I mean, you know, again, that may not happen, but there's some risk of that in kind of interrupting the normal split of informational versus action. You folks can do it if you wish, but those are my concerns.
I have one.
But I think, yeah, but I just want to reply to that. I think like when you say the public will get confused, I think the public know that the only thing that we can discuss is in the formal agenda, which is after the call the meeting to orders. And I'm not suggesting to put it there by any means.
Okay, you were thinking of like on the front page, for
Yeah,
example?
and like somewhere in the front page, as we are telling the people what's this you know, the meeting, what's this meeting about? We're telling how they can access it. We can just have another line, our waiting list for this, like this. Just like another item outside of like the agenda is just like that. That's, nobody will say, oh, we need to talk about that. No, I don't think so. Because I'm not suggesting it to be on the formal agenda, no.
One question I have is related to if we're wanting to highlight this, and the other question is like, who is the intended audience? The folks that are, you know, maybe really wanting to know that number, are they going to come to our agenda to find it? all that's questions that I think we don't absolutely need to answer. If the need is for it to be somewhere, on the formal agenda. I do have a question about if it would be, maybe acceptable to have like because it's in this information packet. If we still had, it in the information packet, and then we're October 16th, just like when we pull certain things that's in the information packet, for instance. Yeah, like some things we know we need to talk about, and we pull it right here. If we're talking about like our calendar for council, we pull it here. So what I, am thinking about, if it was here on the October 16th, and we had highlighted, what's in black up here, the black, and October 25th, and then it would just always be here. So it's still all the information here, because this is important information to always have. And it will be highlighted. I think the desire that I hear is for it to be highlighted. And I think if it was pulled here, that way we'll always have that number whenever it is in the packet, which is once a month.
So it's on the work agenda.
I think you're talking about the work session. Yeah, I really don't care it's a work session or in here, but I need it to be on the first page. But you just give me like a good idea. Like for example, here we have clarification of agenda item. All the time, every council we have that. Can we say also like something information about a waiting list, a housing waiting list, or something like that to be just added to the work session and all the time be there. And we can also, if we have update, if we don't have update, we can just say, we can just move it. And it will be just like one item all the time in the work session agenda.
So I think if we, since we know this is coming once a month, what I would suggest is, based on what you're requesting, is that we have this item cited on the agenda like we would anything we want to pull out. We'll say this is IP6. Is this IP6?
This is, I didn't see the IP
So
number.
we would have here IP6, and then we would want just, there's a lot of information there, but we would want to just highlight and post the last month that is being reported, and just having the categories up top.
Exactly, it can be here.
And it fits because it's information.
Yes,
But
exactly.
it's pulled out enough so that somebody doesn't have to go through the whole packet.
Sure. I'm for that if you guys agree.
I think for what it's worth, I think it makes sense with that clarity to have it in work session, which is information for the public. And then we can do from, our formal meetings or council information, and we can say, hey, starting up, we're going to do this, right? And then we just.
And
I
this
like
way,
it.
we know that the public are not gonna talk about it, so, here.
Would you like us to use language that makes it clear that this is just informational reporting
Yes.
as opposed to this is going to be an item to be discussed by council?
So it won't be on the formal agenda now.
Work session.
It'll be on the work session, and it'll be under informational packet discussions, and when it is reported, we will have the table. It's on page 233.
Right.
I did say 233 in my, okay. And it's the table 1, but it's just what's in the category that's in bold, and then the last month. So we would always highlight when we have the Housing Authority waiting list update. So we'll talk about that on the IP6. And then we would just have those two there. So that just lets easy, at a glance, numbers, council know we can go there and talk about it in greater detail, because all of the information will be there.
Okay. So will it say for council information, list the information that you just described, and that's it?
Yeah, that's it.
Can we just clarify, do we want to continue with the housing information piece, that first memo that has a kind of a housing fact per meeting? Do you still want us to do that?
On the IB?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think it's helpful.
Yeah, it's
I-
very
and I-
helpful. Very nice information.
And I always look for new starts when they're available for construction permits.
Yeah,
So,
agreed.
Yeah.
I think that's
I know
great.
that doesn't need to be every month, or
I think
every
this is
week,
just like
but-
a front page highlighting of that. Is essentially what, and with the some of the main raw numbers there.
All right. Any other so I heard a majority of council say yes to that. Any other clarification for staff? All right, great. Any other items from the October 16th IP? We're going to move on to number 4, University of Iowa Student Government Update, USG. Hello, hello.
Hello. Sorry I was MIA for so long. I was taking time to crunch the data to finish up our renter's guide, which is done, and also doing the application and interview process for my long-awaited new deputy city liaison. I'm going to let her introduce herself real quick.
All right, we see someone new.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Eden Coy. I'm the Deputy City Liaison. I'm a first year at the university. I'm majoring in international relations with minors in Chinese and philosophy and a human rights certificate. And I'm very excited to work with everyone.
Great, and congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, she's absolutely great. I do have a couple of announcements this week. One of our senators is currently working on a multicultural food drive initiative. She wants to partner with a couple of food pantries around Iowa City and North Liberty Coralville to then donate all of the proceeds there. It's still a work in progress, but I think it's pretty cool. She might want to partner with somewhere downtown to host the food drive. We haven't really figured out exactly what we're doing with that yet. Our sustainability team is currently in contact with ICDD because they're currently working on maybe painting a new mural downtown, something sustainability focused. And then also, we are kind of trying to revive an initiative from last year, the coat check thing with downtown. Last year, it wasn't as successful as the previous admin had hoped, but this year, they are going to rent one of those, the boxes they have for the pop-up stores. I think that we're going to rent one of those to operate the coat check out of. So we're excited to see how that goes this year, too.
And I know that there is a meeting, there is a meeting on November, not a meeting, like a gathering at the November 12th, right? The USG reception.
I think that's the Senate faculty. I think it's faculty Senate. I had to reread it.
I
I don't think it's for USG.
It's not USG?
No,
I don't
it's Senate
think
faculty.
so.
I thought the same thing when I read it.
Yeah.
It's
So
it's
we all have really similar names.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I had to read
Another
it.
legislative body at the university.
Yes, okay. I saw that's you guys.
Okay.
Oh, another fun thing is the graduate hotel that we have, since they have locations in a lot of the same cities as other Big Ten schools, Indiana University has just partnered with their graduate hotel to start a LeaseGap program. And Michigan also just reached out today to start their own LeaseGap program. We haven't figured out if it's going to be with their graduate or not yet, but so far they are just still a fantastic partner. Love the graduate hotel and everybody who works there. They're all so nice. Just big shout out to them.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you both. All right, we're on to item number 5, council updates on assigned boards, commissions, and committees. We're all at the Joint Entities Committee yesterday.
That counts, yeah.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, and I think I was not, I came late, I saw this 5 o'clock. But after I read, the recommendations by Catholic Worker House and Schedule Me Boss, I think there is a lot good information there, and I think it's worth to look into it and to see what we can do about it.
Same thought.
All right, any other updates? Hearing none. We are adjourned from work session, and we'll be back at 6 p.m. for our formal meeting. We'll get started. All right, it is October 21st, 2025. It's 6 p.m., and this is the City of Iowa City formal meeting. I'm going to call this meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Alter. Here. Burgess.
Here.
Harmson.
Here.
Mo.
Here.
Salet.
Here.
Teague.
Here.
Wyline.
Here.
All right, I want to welcome everyone to your City Hall that is here present, and to those that are joining us virtual, welcome as well. We're going to get started with item number 2, which is proclamations. The first one is 2A, Community Planning Month, and this will be read by Councilor Burgess.
Whereas change is constant and affects all cities, counties, and places, and whereas community planning and plans can help manage this change in a way that provides better choices for how people live and work, and whereas community planning provides an opportunity for all residents to be meaningfully involved in planning for the future of their community, and whereas the full benefits of planning require public officials and citizens who understand, support, and demand excellence in planning and plan implementation, and whereas the month of October is designated as National Community Planning Month, which is endorsed by the American Planning Association and is an opportunity to highlight how planning is essential to addressing ongoing community needs and how planners can lead communities to stronger futures. And whereas the celebration of National Community Planning Month gives us the opportunity to publicly recognize the participation and dedication of the members of planning commissions who have contributed their time to this field, and whereas we recognize the many valuable contributions made by professional urban planners of the City of Iowa City, Iowa, and extend our heartfelt thanks for the continued commitment to public service by these professionals. And whereas this commitment is exemplified by the city's current update to its comprehensive plan and parking study and associated revisions to the zoning code parking standards, all of which are funded by the city's $3.75 million Pro-Housing Award through the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. Now, therefore, I, on behalf of Bruce Teague, Mayor of Iowa City, do hereby proclaim the month of October 2025 as Community Planning Month in Iowa City, Iowa, in conjunction with the celebration of National Community Planning Month. And here to accept this proclamation is our Development Services Coordinator, Danielle Sitzman.
Thank you very much, Mayor and Council. On behalf of Neighborhood and Development Services, we really appreciate this proclamation for Community Planning Month, which, full disclosure, we may have helped draft. Planning is all about shaping the kind of city we want to live in, connected, welcoming, and ready for the future. Our staff do a ton of work behind the scenes to help guide growth, support housing, and make Iowa City a great place to live. The comprehensive plan update and the parking study just mentioned in this proclamation are perfect examples of that. They take a lot of collaboration, problem solving, and heart from our team, as well as the Planning and Zoning Commission members and our community members who keep showing up and helping us plan a stronger Iowa City together. So thank you for taking a moment to recognize that. It really does mean a lot. We love this community, even on the days when the Iowa City subreddit comments make us question our life choices. Proud to be part of planning Iowa City's future.
Great. All right, we are at 2B, Gamma Phi Beta Rho Chapter, 110th Anniversary Homecoming. And this proclamation states, whereas Gamma Phi Beta's Rho Chapter was founded at the University of Iowa on June 15, 1915, and has for 110 years continued years, enriched Iowa City with leadership, service, and sisterhood in furtherance of fostering strong women of character, intelligent, and community spirit. And whereas throughout its history, the Rho Chapter has contributed significantly to charitable and philanthropic causes, dedicating countless hours to local service, fundraising, and mentorship. Gamma Phi Beta's philanthropy focuses on building strong girls, providing resources and experiences to foster spiritual, mental, and social resiliency in young girls. Their signature philanthropic partner is Girls on the Run, an organization dedicated to empowering girls to be joyful, healthy, and confident. Gamma Phi Beta members support Girls on the Run through volunteering as coaches and ambassadors, assisting at 5K events, and raising money through signature events like Moonball. And whereas the chapter's commitment to empowering women and cultivating academic excellence, civic engagement, and lifelong leadership and sisterhood has nurtured generations of women who positively shape our community and beyond. And whereas as Road Chapter celebrates this milestone with the homecoming 110th anniversary reception, October 24th through the 26th, the City of Iowa City formally recognizes this milestone and expresses its appreciation for the Road Chapter's enduring legacy and current contributions, extending a warm welcome home to alums. Now, therefore, I, Bruce Teague, Mayor of Iowa City, do hereby proclaim October 21st, 2025 to be Gamma Phi Beta Road Chapter 110th Anniversary Homecoming in Iowa City, Iowa, and extend sincere congratulations and gratitude to the members past and present of the Road Chapter for 110 years of service, leadership, and dedication to developing strong women and strengthening our community. And we have quite a few people accepting this proclamation today, so we'll give them all a big round of applause and have you all stand, and you can come on up and give some remarks.
Hi, I'm Mary Kate Dunclaw. I'm the current chapter president of Gamma Phi Beta. I want to thank all of you guys so much for this opportunity. This is so cool. But I'm super excited to celebrate with all of us. I'm with the rest of our exec team and our alumni chairwoman and our alumni advisor, Lisa, who have helped make this weekend happen. But we're super excited to celebrate the past 110 years at the University of Iowa and how much our chapter has grown and how many opportunities we've given the women in our chapter and to our philanthropy and just to the university. So thank you.
Okay.
I knew you weren't going to make them stand, so I did it for you. 2C, United Nations, and this will be read by Mayor Pro Tem Salah.
Whereas October 24th is the 80th anniversary of the United Nations, and whereas the UN has prevented and solved conflict, aided the victim of natural and man-made disaster, improved standards of life and global health, advanced human rights, and initiated measures to protect the planet. And whereas the UN has helped make the United States safer, more prosperous, and secure. And whereas the Johnson County chapter of the United Nations Association of the USA has helped to inform the public about the United Nations and advocated for constructive U.S. leadership in the world body. And whereas the Johnson County United Nations Association and the Iowa City Foreign Relations Council are hosting a UN Day event on Wednesday, October 22nd at noon at the Iowa City Public Library, featuring University of Iowa historian Elizabeth Heineman speaking on anti-Semitism. Now, therefore, I, Mazahar Saleh, on behalf of Bruce Teague, Mayor of Iowa City, do hereby proclaim Friday, October 24, 2025 as United Nations Day in Iowa City. And to accept is my friend, Bigyu Maliavo.
Sorry, I'm making you guys wait.
Oh, you're fine.
Thank you so much, City Councils, for recognizing the United Nations Day and reaffirming our shared commitment to peace, human rights, and global cooperation. The UN's work began right here in our community when we choose inclusion, understanding, and action. Together, we build the bridge that connects people, culture, and nations. As we celebrate UN Day, please remember to contact your Congress, the member of your Congress, and remind them how important it is to keep the United Nations in the U.S. because the U.S. needs the UN. 2025 marked the 80th anniversary of the United Nations formed at the conclusion of World War II under the leadership of the United States. We commend the United Nations for its records of achievement in promoting human rights, protecting our planet, preventing and resolving conflict, and providing aid to victims of war and natural disaster. We also recognize the UN's large inmate agenda requiring continued international cooperation. Therefore, we call for a strengthening partnership between the United States and the UN. And also, we invite you to come on Wednesday, please, at the library between 1:30 and noon to celebrate with us UN Day. I also have a QR code if you guys can sign to talk to Congress and let them keep the UN in the US because the UN actually help everyone worldwide. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we're going to move on to our consent agenda, which is items number 3 through 8. Could I get a motion, please?
So move, Mazahir Saleh.
Second. Alter.
Moved by Saleh, seconded by Alter. Anyone from the public like to address a topic that is on our consent agenda? Seeing no one, online or in person. Council discussion.
I just wanted to say I'm excited for the new skate park that we're finally putting this out to bid. I know a lot of people have been asking me, like they thought that it was going to be this summer, but I had to explain to them because of federal dollars being held up. That's why it was delayed. So I'm really excited. So I don't know.
Great.
Thank you.
I just want to note on the item just prior to that I'm really pleased that the downtown district is renewing its SMID and indeed extending its boundaries so that more people can be included in this. So I think I know it's a lot to get it renewed, but I'm so glad that the will is there and that people see the value.
Yes. Roll call, please.
Burgess?
Yes.
Harmson?
Yes.
Mo?
Yes.
Sala?
Yes.
Teague?
Yes.
Wyline?
Yes.
Alter?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. Item number 9 is community comment. This is an opportunity for items that are not on our agenda to be spoken on. Is there anyone in the council chambers that would like to speak tonight? All right, I see 3 individuals that are speaking on items that are not on our agenda. So I see 2 individuals. I'm going to invite you up at this time, and there you'll be given 3 minutes each. Please state your name and city you're from, and there's a sign in there, or if you have a, just drop it right in there. Welcome.
Hi, good evening, and I also applaud the city planning staff. Yay, they definitely deserve the recognition. I love living in Iowa City because a lot of the planning choices, and that's what I'm here to talk to you about, so it's very auspicious. So I'm here to talk about 611 Greenwood Drive, just to refresh your memory. That's at the Roosevelt Elementary location. It's between Benton and Greenwood. There's no on-street parking on Benton or Greenwood. They are proposing 315 bedrooms and 160 parking spots. This is a recipe for conflict. But I'm not here to talk to you about that conflict. I'm here to talk to you about a solution to the potential conflict. On 9/16, in the supplemental packet, I sent a letter about a transportation alternative to parking spots. So transportation in lieu of parking. So a surface parking spot costs a developer about $4,000 right now to build. If you do it enclosed in a structure, it's more like $12,000 to $15,000. It's not cheap. But an e-bike gives someone freedom. And this is an affordable housing complex. And so if you're spending $600 to $900 a month, 20% of your income, if you're 60% AMI, owning a vehicle is very expensive. 95% of households in Iowa City have a car, so we know there's going to be conflict when they have got 315 bedrooms with 160 spots. But what if you gave people a different kind of freedom? What if you gave them secure bike parking with charging, and you leased or offered a purchase voucher to those tenants? Not only would you have more financial security as the landlord, the tenant would also have more financial security, because then maybe they could ditch that second car. Maybe they still need that one car because they've got this, that, and the other going on, but they can ditch the second one. If you're in that location and you don't have a car, good luck getting to Walmart or Aldi. The bus only goes once an hour, and I love our bus system, but this is not the best spot if you need a bus. The e-bike alternative would open up opportunities. So what I'm proposing is, since our very esteemed planning staff is working on the comprehensive plan, what if we could do a pilot with a developer? So I'm in conversation about that. What if we could do a pilot project with the developer and demonstrate that this can happen, and we can get butts on bikes instead of in cars? We address affordability and we address climate action. So I'm very excited about continuing this conversation. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome.
My name is Mary Gravitt, and I'm from Iowa City. I'm here to get some emergency funding for the Iowa City Public Library. The Iowa City Public Library requires a full-time maintenance person to avoid the plague in the coming year. The site of the plague will be the patron elevator. The elevator's walls have been spat upon, and the remains have been left for months. The carpet in the elevator itself is filthy, and no air seems to circulate inside the elevator. The walls should be wiped down with disinfectant at least once a day, and the carpet should be replaced or shampooed, then vacuumed at least once a day, since the Iowa City Public Library opens and services the public, both housed and unhoused, 7 days a week. Even the metal footing at the entrance is caked with dirt and filth. Since Iowa City Public Library only has an acting director, this is a problem for the city council. And I want to know what council person represents the downtown area, because it's a disgrace. You go in there, it's not right. And about the bus shelters, my usual pony. The bus shelters in Iowa cities do not have to be high-tech. They just have to be installed. Although I and others are grateful for the wooden benches, they are looking rather tacky and need painting. They are not suitable for the coming winter season. The old shelters are in storage. Take them out and install or reinstall them, and put the wooden benches in storage. And my personal problem is heat. When does the heating season begin? I'm in my apartment and I'm freezing, and Keystone won't investigate my complaint. My main complaint is my thermostat, and yet the plumber, who was supposed to know everything more than me, and I've been there 30 years, he tells the bold-faced lie to Keystone that he has replaced my thermostat 3 times. He hasn't done anything. And I want some heat. Keystone called me today. The lady was good enough to call me back. She said the heat's on. Okay, I talked to her. By the time I finished talking to her, the heat was off. And she tells me how it's supposed to be, you know, it runs, and so it can keep the temperature. No, and when the plumber, the so-called plumber, comes, he measures the heat in my wall. And I explained to her, I don't live in the wall. I live in the center of the apartment. So I'm always having a problem with Keystone, but they're always collecting their rent. And do something about the library. The library is the pride of Iowa City, and it is filthy. Thank you.
Thanks to everyone that shared during this time. We're going to move on to item number 10, planning and zoning matters. 10A is zoning code amendment, floodplain management standards. Ordinance amending Title 14 zoning related to the city's floodplain management standards to ensure the community's continued participation and eligibility in the National Flood Insurance Program. This is the second consideration, and the staff is requesting expedited action.
I move that the rule requiring that ordinances must be considered and voted on for passage at 2 meetings prior to the meeting in which is to be finally passed be suspended, and that the second consideration and vote be waived, and that the ordinance be voted on for final passage at this time.
Moved by Mo.
Second, Thaler.
All right. Anyone from the public like to discuss this topic? Seeing no one in person or online, council discussion. Roll call, please.
Harmson.
Yes.
Mo.
Yes.
Sala.
Yes.
Teague.
Yes.
Wyline.
Yes.
Alter.
Yes.
Burgess.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. Could I get a motion to pass and adopt?
So moved, Mo.
Second, Alter.
Roll call, please.
Mo.
Yes.
Sala.
Yes.
Teague.
Yes.
Wyline.
Yes.
Alter.
Yes.
Burgess.
Yes.
Harmson.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. All right, we are on to item number, our regular formal agenda. This is 11A, ordinance adopted and incorporating SUDAS design manual and specifications. Ordinance amending Title 15, 16, and 18 of the City Code to adopt and incorporate the SUDAS design manual and specifications, general supplemental design standards and specifications, and City of Iowa City design supplement and specifications. I'm going to open up the public hearing. And welcome.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. I'm Jason Havel, City Engineer, here to talk to you tonight about the proposed adoption of the SUDAS Design Manual. So starting off, what is SUDAS? So SUDAS is short for the Statewide Urban Design and Specifications. It's a group at Iowa State University that works with municipalities to promote uniformity of urban design and construction across Iowa. It includes basically 2 main sections. It includes items on the design side of things and then items on the specification side of things. So the design side obviously makes sense, and then the specifications is really on the construction side of things. So we're kind of talking about the design side of things tonight. So what they create here at SUDAS is they create essentially the standard manual. So this is kind of the framework that municipalities use for creating their design manuals and their specifications. And then cities adopt what they call the supplemental design manual or specifications. We actually here at Iowa City adopted the construction specifications back in May of 2018, and then you often see us here annually, usually January or February, we come to you with updates that are necessary every year to just kind of keep those up to date. So now we're talking about the design manual. And so that piece of it, we are proposing to adopt here. We've started this process tonight, continuing into November, and with that adoption, then we would also come back annually to update that as well, again, probably in that January, February timeframe. So why would we update our design manual? Currently, our design manual, it dates back to 1996 is when it was last adopted. Portions of that actually were carried forward from past versions, so some of that is even older than that. To be honest, it's held up really well for its age. But one of the big benefits is consistency. You know, obviously our consultants don't only work in Iowa City, our contractors don't only build in Iowa City. And so having that consistency across municipalities, especially in our area, there's a lot of benefits. That helps them be more productive, more efficient, hopefully saves costs in the long run. Also includes ongoing updates and reviews. So what this benefits is it's not only us looking at it every year, it's also other municipalities, other communities that if they have issues, we don't have to go through those same growing pains. We can learn from that all at the same time. And there's somebody else helping to look at that. How do we make these better? How do we keep these updated? And doing that as a group makes it much more efficient. And then finally, part of the item is a number of ordinance revisions. You know, it's a pretty lengthy document looking at those revisions. Over time, things have been pieced together, you know, in different areas of the code and that kind of thing. And so part of what we're trying to do here is really make this a one-stop shop where people can go, if they have questions about design, there's one place they need to go, and it's all kind of right there together. So what are the changes? So to be honest, the majority of public improvements and work in the right-of-way will be exactly the same. So most of the day-to-day stuff will be exactly the same. There's really two main differences that will come out of this. The first one is the requirement for drainable subbase and subdrain under pavements. Basically what that does is gets the water out from underneath the pavement. And it's a pretty well documented, well accepted fact that basically getting that water out extends the life of pavements, makes them last much longer, which again lowers the overall lifespan costs of our infrastructure. The second one is stormwater requirements. This is probably going to be the biggest change that would come out of the design manual update. It's going to include new formulas and new ways of kind of handling our detention basin designs. It's going to include a water quality component that it would be new for our community, but is included with SUDAS. It's also going to include additional options for stormwater management. So it's going to give developers and city staff additional opportunities and options for how we handle stormwater management that can better reflect specific sites. And then it's also going to have standard drainage reports. So all of our drainage reports that we get from consultants are going to look exactly the same. So it's going to be a lot easier to compare apples to apples when we're looking at those reports. I just wanted to kind of point out a couple of examples, you know, kind of more of the typical that we might see here in Iowa City and what we see in other communities. You know, on the residential side of things, often we see a number of lots with you know, one detention basin or maybe a couple detention basins to kind of handle stormwater management for that facility. This would allow maybe for some other things. So it could be an example that often occurs is to reduce the size of that detention basin, which gets you more lots, more buildable area, whatever that might be to help with that. And then maybe like a stormwater, a soil quality restoration to help address some of that water quality and runoff and those factors. On the commercial side of things, an example that we often see is to take, again, reduce that overall detention basin size, that requirement for space on the site, give some of that space back for development. But then they may be able to include, you know, rain gardens, bioswales, or pervious pavers, other options to address their stormwater management requirements. But again, gives them that flexibility to have different methods for dealing with that. As far as public outreach, so with this process we've gone through, we've met a couple of times, or met once with and we really focused on developers and consultant engineers. As for city projects, as the owner, we have a lot of control over what we do with our consultants and those discussions that we have. So I think on the public infrastructure projects that we do, we've already had a lot of that outreach and we get to direct that pretty easily. Really on the development side of things is where I think the biggest change is going to come from. We wanted to reach out to them, make sure they understood that. I think overall the response was positive. I think they see that conversion to SUDAS, again, that consistency helping in the long run. Some of the comments that we did receive, we're allowing for exemptions for those sites where you have a small increase in impervious area. Those are often a challenge because you're having to do something to address stormwater management, but they're often hard to design, but also hard to maintain. You know, you're usually talking about small pipes, small openings, that kind of thing that clog easily. So it gets to be a headache for not only the design side of things, but again, the maintenance and the ongoing lifespan of that. Second is those challenging sites where, you know, you can't do kind of the status quo. You can't do the cookie cutter option, and what do we do with that? And there's often times where in those situations you're having to say, then there's not really a path forward, or, you know, this kind of kills the project because there's not a way to deal with that. This gives us more flexibility to say, you know what, if we feel like we're requiring you to make an honest effort, you're doing what you can do with the site, there is the option to scale that back and say, okay, let's get the best solution we can to actually get something to happen on this site. And then also that consistency with other communities in our area. That was one of the big things we heard is, Iowa City's different, your formulas are different, whatever it might be, having that be more consistent is much more efficient for everyone. As far as next steps go, public hearing tonight, so first step in that process, and then we would look at kind of the additional readings and adoption here in November, and then, like I said, in the future, you will see us again annually as we update that SUDAS manual as needed. So with that, I am happy to take any questions.
Yeah, just real quick, kind of looking at this big picture with these changes, especially with the stormwater, would this represent an improvement? Would it be basically better, worse, or kind of neutral from the current standards in terms of when we face like big rain events? Because I know one of the things is we don't want, our streams and the river and everything to get a huge shock of water.
Yeah, I think it would be better. I think, obviously, as time goes on, we become more familiar with flood events and how we handle those, and I think the built environment and all of that. So I think this is definitely an advancement in that area. Obviously, it's not going to be flood-proof or, there's no such thing, but certainly it's an advancement in how we deal with stormwater.
Okay, so like in terms of like the outflow, it wouldn't, even though the flexibility would not have a net result of increasing like a shock of water too.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Regarding a new process whereby I imagine in older neighborhoods it's incredibly difficult to meet standards and you need to look for exceptions, does the process point those developers or the city to make alternate accommodations somewhere else, maybe somewhere in the neighborhood or the region, or is it just that you don't need to comply? So if you can't comply, you just get allowed to not comply, or do you have to do something alternate somewhere else?
So the way that it would be set up now is that it would not have a situation where you would be including other properties in your compliance. So but basically what it would be is we would require you to make a best effort to do it on your site, do what you can on your site to address compliance.
Okay.
Does this address, I've been thinking about over a period of several years, there have been some complaints from people who belong to HOAs, and they have those ponds that are for runoff, and does this perhaps help? I guess two things are running through my mind. One is what's being presented here as what we can do moving forward. Is that something that can be possibly a solution for almost like retrofitting if there's a pretty exacerbated problem among those? And also, as Josh was talking about, these are for individual properties, and remedies are not based on age and what have you. Do the very same things that you just presented to us, do those apply to those larger kind of built ponds and whatnot for runoff and those neighborhoods?
So I would say that this really wouldn't apply to that situation specifically. I can say that we are, as part of a separate process, trying to work through that and figure out ways to, kind of twofold. How do we deal with the ones that are our problems, and how do we work with residents to fix those, but also as we move forward, how do we do a better job of educating people of what they are, how they are maintained, so that it's not something where it gets to a point that it becomes a lot harder to deal with.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Does adding granular base add a lot of cost? I mean, it's going to make the roads last longer, but is it going to increase costs?
It does add cost. I would not say it's significant. And to be honest, as we've discussed it with developers, that's not been a point of contention that I'm aware of.
Okay.
And most other communities are already doing it.
All right, thank you. Anyone from the public like to address this topic? Seeing no one in person or online, I'm going to close the public hearing. Could I get a motion to give first consideration, please?
So moved, Mo.
Second, Sally. Today.
Council discussion.
Thanks to the staff for taking some extra time. This was one I was very interested in, so they educated me as best they could on a really complicated topic. So every year we get in our budget discussions that graph of how our costs of roads keep going up and up and up and up and up. And so think we should be paying even more and more attention on how these things are built, because that's scary for us and the public.
Definitely.
Roll call, please.
Sala,
Yes.
Teague,
Yes?
Wyline,
Yes.
Alter,
Yes.
Burgess,
Yes.
Harmson,
Yes.
Mo.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. 11B, Animal Care and Adoption Center Training Additional Project. Resolution approving project manual and estimate of cost for the construction of the Animal Care and Adoption Center Training Addition Project. Establishing amount of bid security to accompany each bid, directing city clerk to post notice to bidders, and fixing time and place for receipt of bids. I'm going to open the public hearing, and I will welcome Michelle. All right. And Devin. Great. Welcome.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you for seeing us tonight. I'm Devin Streif. I'm the Animal Services Coordinator. This is Michelle Reidinger with the City Engineering Department. We'll just go over a few slides here. So just a little bit of background about why it is that we're asking for this addition. Currently, we have 2 rooms that are utilized. One is our staff break room, and one is a very small meet and greet room is what we would call it. These rooms are utilized for dogs during extreme cold and extreme heat to socialize, to interact with potential adopters, and that often means that we cannot use that space for other things. So I can't use that adoption meet and greet room to bring adopters in because I might have dogs socializing in there. Likewise, our staff break room also has 3 offices in it. So that means if I have volunteers bringing dogs up to do training work with them when it's hot or cold, that interrupts the daily operations of the staff members working in there. For large-scale impounds, we see a few of them a year. Approximately 8 or plus is what we call large-scale. It just helps provide a space, as you can see here. This was our off-site housing facility in August of 2023 when we impounded 131 dogs assisting Johnson County. We set up these temporary crates here, or pens as you would have them, which is not something we could do currently, but with the addition, we would be able to set this up in the event that something like that would happen again, whether it be cats, whether it be dogs. Currently, we can house 26 animals, 26 dogs, around 130 cats. We're constantly teetering on the edge of being over capacity. And when that happens, we have to set up temporary crates in the hallways or in vestibules that aren't meant for animals to be housed in. It creates a safety risk for staff and the animals and can be very unsanitary, difficult to disinfect and keep clean. So providing that space where we can keep all that contained helps mitigate the risk of dogs escaping, cats escaping, communicable diseases being transported, everything like that between the 2. More or less, this is a multi-purpose room. We would be using it for dog enrichment and training, animal overflow and housing, quarantine space, emergency housing support. We have seen a large influx in emergency housing requests. As we all know, crisis does not have a timeline, and our emergency housing program runs for 10 days. If I have my 12 stray kennels full, and somebody needs emergency housing for their 2 dogs because they've become unhoused and they're not moving in for another 5 days. Now their choice is to live in their car on the street with their pets. And if we have the space, we can offer that emergency housing to them. But if I'm full with animals already, I can't offer that to them. This space would provide us the opportunity to utilize for dogs already in our care, that we can set up house for a couple of days so we can bring animals like that into the facility as needed. Likewise, small events and gatherings. We've had some Girl Scout troops. Just today we had Midwest One Bank down doing a whole lot of community service projects. The Girl Scout troops like to come in and make dog toys and things like that for the dogs. Little stuffed treats for the critters. We have a spring open house. We had our first annual one last spring, so that would be fun to be able to utilize that space for more indoor activities if we needed to. Likewise, if FACF had small fundraisers and events that they would like to participate in, that building would be for them as well as another space for city. If city needs a break and you need to come down and have animal enrichment meetings, things like that, you can certainly utilize it. The space will have a utility sink and counter area so that any work that we are doing in that room, the bowls, litter pans, anything like that can be washed immediately in that room, and we don't have to take it into general population to spread disease or anything like that. And it will also have an overhead door, something that we don't have right now. This will provide a safety net for our animal services officers and other entities that bring animals inside their vehicles to allow them to come into a space, close the door securely behind them before they remove animals from the vehicle. This helps prevent animals from escaping out into the community and is also helps as for a safety barrier for them.
I'll just highlight a couple things kind of from the plan set. So here's what the building is going to kind of look like from the outside. It's very much going to match the existing kind of exterior appearance. So that metal panel, shingle roof. As Devin said, we have that garage door on the south part of the building. We'll have doors into both of the yards, kind of on either side. And then just stepping through the floor plan, so you can see north is right on this plan. So on the left, there's that garage door with the trench drain. So again, allowing us to bring those vehicles into that space. On the right side, you can see that counter and that utility sink that Devin had pointed out. That blue bar is kind of a section through, so if you're standing in that space and you're kind of looking in front of you, what the space is going to look like. Two things to kind of highlight on this, that purple outline, there is currently an existing outside air intake for the mechanical unit that serves the building, and that currently is on that south face of the building where we're adding the addition. So we need to extend that out to keep that HVAC system, that existing HVAC system working. And then the other thing to point out on this section is that orange bar, we're going to have a mechanical mezzanine. This space is going to be, the HVAC is separate from the rest of the building just because it was coming as an addition, and the existing mechanical system is kind of maxed out. So this is going to have a furnace and a condensing unit, so pretty similar to what a residential may be. And again, this is just kind of a separate HVAC system. One other note on the HVAC, and one thing that's kind of contributing some of the cost is with that vehicle in there, there's some code implications of fire rating, and we also need a gas detection system, so making sure that staff that are using this space have plenty of safeguards to make sure that nothing happens. One other thing to highlight kind of with the project, and another thing that's contributing to some of the cost and some of the impact to the facility, is we're having to relocate and do some utility work, so moving the water main or the water service into this building and work around the existing electrical. So that kind of spins into impacts to the facility. The facility will largely be open to the public. Staff will still be able to use this facility, so pretty much business as usual. There will be a couple days where we'll have to close down as we do water tie-ins, electrical tie-ins, and then the south access will be impacted, but we've been working with the animal shelter to make sure that we have all the access they need and all that stuff. Just highlighting how this kind of matches in with the strategic plan, improving kind of the safety and well-being, implemented and expanding innovative public safety models and facilities to improve outcomes and relationships within the community, partnering with nonprofits to address the most emergent and foundational community safety and well-being needs, building community by fostering social connections and developing safe, accessible public spaces for gathering, continuing and expanding our facilities as needed, and we are employing and hitting some values of climate action and partnership and engagement by working closely with FACF and using LED light fixtures and some other kind of climate action focused in the new building.
Okay, you've heard us say FACF a couple of times. That stands for Friends of the Animal Center Foundation. We have two of the lovely representatives with us tonight. They will be funding the entire project. They're a nonprofit organization that has been working closely with FACF, or Iowa City Animal Center, since 1999. They are in charge of all of our fundraising and events, so anything that is not within the city budget, they help us pay for to get more animals adopted, to help support the community further than what we can do sometimes within our limitations. Currently, they pledge $90,000 annually to the animal shelter and the animals, and $92,000 to our volunteer programs assistant position, full-time staff member. We've had a strong working relationship with them, and they are very excited to get this project going.
I want to make sure I heard that correctly. $940,000. Who's paying for that?
Friends of the Animal Center Foundation.
Wow.
Yes.
I just seeking clarification.
Yes. Yep. You heard it.
Have to save comments for our deliberations.
Yep, so you kind of alluded to the estimated construction cost is $940,000. The overall total project cost, or the number that's been some of the FACF fundraising, is $1.3 million, and that is the estimated construction cost plus the design fee and some of the furniture, fixtures, and equipment fit out in the final space. So kennels, some of the furniture that isn't necessarily bolted down into that space schedule. So we're looking at bid opening November 19th. We'll award at the council meeting in December, and then we're looking at spring construction, and that should be about a year. So hoping to have that facility open in spring of 2027. That will take any questions.
Looks like the building was set up for future additions, like when it was constructed, it was conceived that it could be added on. Is this new addition allow for additional future additions?
I believe it did.
I believe so. When we were picking this particular location for the addition, we shuffled through 3 different options of what had been suggested in the preliminary designs of the building for options to add on. This was the one based on our needs. Based on our needs just the general space of being multi-purpose as opposed to putting it in the front where we have more offices and more traffic of the public. So we could, I guess I don't know the boundary over back there, but.
Okay. No, I'm, like our mayor, just thrilled that we have a wonderful not-for-profit that did fundraising for this, and excited, didn't want this to happen, but also expect you guys to keep growing, so.
We'll save comments for council deliberations.
Just raise your voice at the end. Then it's a question.
Then it's a question.
I was wondering if this has any kind of long-term, I know something like your capacity is not like a rigid number, obviously, because in 2023, when the puppy mill was busted, you got 130 dogs. But that's like an emergency situation. I was wondering if this addition would allow for more consistent, larger capacity for the animal shelter as a whole, would you think, or?
I could see that, yes. It would. I believe if I'm understanding the question correctly, yes, it would provide more opportunity for that as needed. Johnson County, we're contracted with Johnson County to provide their services, so that was a county situation that we had to take in for that. Within Iowa City, I would say our biggest intakes in Iowa City tend to be around 8 to 10. We have typically once a year, I would say, anything more than 10 plus that we have to figure out how to facilitate.
10 animals?
10 animals plus.
Okay.
And from one location or one person.
Okay. I understand that. I thought you were saying you only have 10 animals in the animal shelter.
Oh, goodness, no.
I was going to say that'd be cool, but.
Yeah, that would be.
Yeah.
All right. Hearing no other questions. Is there anyone from the public that would like to address this topic? Seeing no one in person or online. I'm going to close the public hearing. Can I get a motion to give approval, please?
So moved, Mo.
Second, Harmson.
All right, council discussion.
Yeah, this is great.
Yeah. Thank
And
you.
thank you to the
Thank
Friends
you.
of the Animal Center Foundation for their funding.
I also know there's a volunteer that I know who is so excited about this. She works with the dogs regularly, and so the notion that there can be expanded indoor space for those extreme weather or just regular seasons so that the dogs can move around and can work with the volunteers and not have to navigate it. She was over the moon about this. So I just want to say that it's not just like that we're all excited. It's like hearing it more from the people who are like within, it's extraordinary. And
Got to be
it's so
careful,
cool.
though, having a kid volunteer there, you end up with an extra
Oh,
cat.
I'm not,
like we did.
Sean, you know my
I know,
household.
I know.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, it was, I just want to say, about a year ago, I found, I bought a bouquet of flowers from Hy-Vee, and they were sourced, I swear this is germane, it was sourced in South America, and I got it, and there was a lizard in there that came all the way from South America. It was in the winter, and thanks for letting me drop off the lizard. I didn't know what else to do. Yeah. This was a while ago, but I just want to say thank you for that. I had no idea what to do with the lizard.
All right, with that, we will say roll call, please.
Teague,
Yes.
Wyline,
Yes.
Alter,
Yes.
Burgess,
Yes.
Harmson,
Yes.
Mo,
Yes.
Sella.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. 11C, sale of western half of Outlet C Industrial Campus. Resolution authorizing conveyance of western approximate one half of Outlet C and Iowa City Industrial Campus. I'm going to open the public hearing, and we'll bring up Rachel. Welcome.
Hi, everyone. Rachel Kilberg-Varley, Economic Development Coordinator. So as you are aware, we have an industrial park along 420th Street, and at the start of this year, we had 40 acres available. And as you may recall, at your meeting back in August, you approved a purchase agreement for 20 of those acres with PJP Holdings. So this agenda item would approve the sale of those remaining 20 acres to MidAmerican Energy. The sale would allow MidAmerican to relocate their operations that are currently at 1630 Lower Muscatine Road to this industrial park land. We've agreed to a purchase price of $1.15 per square foot, so at that 20 acres, that's just over $1 million. The sale would be contingent upon them closing on the sale of their Lower Muscatine property, which they intend to sell to Procter & Gamble's Oral-B site next door. And then it would also be contingent on the final plat and City Council's approval of that subdivision. So our city staff are currently working with all the parties to move those pieces forward with the goal of closing by the end of the year, as stated in that purchase agreement. And then after and assuming that we close on both of these land sales with PJP and with MidAmerican, that'll be the last of the property that we have available in the industrial park. So that campus was kind of created at a time when the city felt the need to acquire and improve the land in order to attract industrial uses and expand that sector in our community. We feel like that's been a success, and so we don't anticipate that we'll be trying to assemble land and market for industrial use at this time. Any questions?
You did mention there was a number of contingencies, and you said staff is working to move them all forward. Do you see any potential bumps, or does it mean?
When you have a couple parties involved of just trying to, draw the right lines, it just is a matter of coordination.
Relating to one of those contingencies, Rachel, you said subdivision would come back to us. Is that of this Mid-Am site or of the Oral-B site?
Of the industrial park land, so
Of this-
PJP and MidAmerican and the city need to figure out what that plot looks like.
Got it. Okay. And is that's for because it's just the half of it?
That's right. It's the full 40 acres is the outlot right now.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, hearing no more questions. Anyone from the public like to address this topic? Yes, welcome.
My name is Melanie Bimson. I'm the Economic Development Program Manager for Greater Iowa City. We're proud to express our strong support for MidAmerican Energy's purchase of the final acres of the Iowa City Industrial Park. MidAmerican has long been a trusted partner in powering progress across Johnson County. Their commitment to reliable, affordable, and sustainable energy directly supports our region's business growth, infrastructure development, and quality of life. By acquiring this final parcel, Mid-American will strengthen its ability to serve current and future employers while making space for other companies to expand and ensuring that Iowa City remains a hub for innovation and investment. As one of Iowa's largest investors in renewable energy and energy efficiency, Mid-American continues to demonstrate how a utility can be both environmentally responsible and economically catalytic. Their projects spanning wind, power, and natural gas have helped businesses grow, supported grid reliability, and kept rates among the lowest in the nation. Their customer-first approach and community stewardship make Mid-American more than a service provider. They're a partner in shaping the future of our economy. Their investment reinforces our shared commitment to building a region that is efficient, resilient, and ready for the next generation of employers. We value Mid-American's continued presence as a neighbor, an employer, and economic partner, and we look forward to working alongside them as they continue to power the growth of Iowa City and the greater Johnson County region. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anyone else like to address this topic? See no one in person or online? I'm going to close the public hearing. Could I get a motion to give approval, please?
So moved. Mo.
Second, Burgess.
Go ahead. All right, moved by Mo, seconded by Burgess. Council discussion. Good. Roll call, please.
Wyline?
Yes.
Alter?
Yes.
Burgess?
Yes.
Harmson?
Yes.
Mo?
Yes.
Sala?
Yes.
Teague?
Yes, motion passes 7-0. Item number 11D, a historic preservation restriction on Sanksay Gilmore House. Resolution approving the agreement for the restrictive covenant with the Board of Regents for 109 East Market Street, commonly known as Sanksay Gilmore House. All right, can I get a motion to give approval, please?
So moved. Alter.
Second, Sally.
All right, and we'll turn it over to our city manager, Jeff Ruin.
Hey, thank you, Mayor. So as the council knows, our city code has protections for local historic landmarks and historic districts as well. However, in most cases, those protections in our city code do not extend to state or federal properties. And so we're talking about two properties here with this item that are owned by the state, specifically the Board of Regents. That is the Cannon Gay House on Melrose Avenue and the Sanksay Gilmore House on Market Street. I'm going to go back in history a little bit and then bring us back to today. In 2003, the university voluntarily agreed to subject the Cannon Gay House on Melrose to our local historic preservation code. So it would be subject like any other local property. Since that time, the Cannon Gay House has had some structural issues. It's noted in the item and in the university's letter, have some significant foundation issues, and that building has not been utilized for several years. The university does not feel comfortable having anybody in that structure, and the cost to remedy those issues were noted in the letter as being fiscally irresponsible. So the university approached us with this dilemma, knowing that one of our, probably the biggest historic preservation goal that we have had for the last decade is to protect a different property, the Sanksay Gilmore House, which is located on Market Street. They are correct indeed that for many years, the city and the preservation community has sought to protect the Sanksay Gilmore House, which is thought to be the oldest house in Iowa City, with construction dating back to 1843. The Sanksay Gilmore House in 2018 was listed on Preservation Iowa's most endangered structures list, so it's not only a priority for local community, but the statewide community. And the solution here in front of you is that the university would essentially transfer those local protections that are on the Cannon Gay House, again, that Melrose House, over to the Sanksay Gilmore House. That would mean that the Cannon Gay House is no longer subject to our local historic preservation code. However, the Sanksay Gilmore House on Market Street, which is not subject now, would be subject to that code going forward. And that's all done through a restricted covenant process. So hopefully I covered that okay and didn't get those two homes mixed up. I'm happy to try to answer questions if you have any.
I was curious how were those properties always university properties, or are we like 100
No,
years
they
ago?
were both private properties that over time the university acquired.
Okay.
All right, hearing no other questions, is there anyone from the public that would like to address this topic? Seeing no one in person or online, council discussion?
Just point everybody to the late handout that came from Friends of Historic Preservation. I know that this is a community that I know pretty well, and they all are always sad to see trade-offs, but in this particular situation, it seems like a pretty good deal to save the Sanksay Gilmore House. So while no one could show up to speak for it, they did write a letter in support of this trade. And I'm really excited for an opportunity to save this Sanksay Gilmore House. I think it's really important.
Yeah.
And I don't know that many people know about the other house, and it might be in the crosshairs of a road project anyway someday. So this one seems like a really good choice. So I'll be voting for it.
Same.
I was just curious. Sorry, I know this is comment time, not question time, but just trying to avoid getting in the position again where the university gets its hands on a property, or a state entity gets its hand on a property that we have, or the community has interest in preserving. I guess I just don't know what types of, and this could just be a question that I could ask Friends of Historic Preservation, but a lot of these places, like you said, are privately owned and then get sold. I was wondering if there's any type of outreach the city might do, or a nonprofit might do, to avoid being in this position in the future, to where if someone's looking to sell a property, they could be approached with another option instead of selling it to someone who our standards don't apply. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yes, it would be great.
Describes a lot of issues over the years, and it's not really, just when the university may acquire a property. That's probably a minority type of scenario. It's mostly when a property with historic characteristics, the owner that's cared for that property but has perhaps not pursued designation, decides to sell it. Most recently, the council may remember the Pauly Eyes Pizza Building on the north side was kind of under this same scenario that you just described, Councilor Wyline. So the Historic Preservation Commission and staff do their best to identify those, and over time we have done some proactive outreach and engagement. We've had some successes, frankly, in convincing property owners to move towards landmark designations, but that's always a very difficult thing, and there's always usually some economic concerns that you have to work through that can be pretty steep on the owner side. Sometimes the owner or the buyer, depending on the scenario, will feel like it's a process that may devalue their profit-making ability.
I support efforts for preservation, so when it's possible, I will always support it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think if many of these organizations have the money, they would buy up all the historic resources and protect them, but that's just, there's not enough money to do that. But yeah, if a private organization does acquire a historic asset, they can voluntarily list, and they can make a covenant on it too if they want to. So I think the city would happily support that if somebody wanted to do that.
Thank you.
Cool. Roll call, please.
Alter,
Yes.
Burgess,
Yes.
Harmson,
Yes.
Mo,
Yes.
Sala,
Yes.
Teague,
Yes.
Wyline.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. Could I get a motion to accept correspondence?
So moved, Alter.
Second, Mo.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. 11E, Sister Cities Program, resolution establishing a Sister City Program framework for the city of Iowa City. Could I get a motion to approve, please?
So moved, Wyline.
Second, Sade.
All right, so this has been a long time coming. for this opportunity, and I'm going to hand it over to Mayor Pro Tem.
Oh, thank you, Mayor. So I'm going to give you just summary about for the resolutions. And if you remember back on April 2024, the City Council dictated the mayor and myself to explore establishing of the Sister City program for Iowa City. Over the past several months, we have held a series of meetings and conversation to gather community input and shape what that programs could look like. And these including like the work session that we have with the council on September 17, a discussion with community stakeholders on October 1st, and also a public feedback session on December 2nd, where we had team stakeholder came back and give us some feedback. Based on that input, we are bringing forward a resolution that outline how the sister city programs would be structured and managed. The resolution proposed that a new independent nonprofit organization be created to oversee the program. This nonprofit will review requested from new sister cities partnership coordinators, cultures, and educational exchange, and make recommendation to the city council. While the city will not provide direct financial or staff support, the council will continue to consider out of, not specific, they can still apply for grant, they can still do that. So not like we're not gonna give them anything. So the council will continue to consider sister city partnership recommended by the nonprofit, as long as they meet criteria that ensure accountability and alignment with our community value. So some of those criteria included manual benefit through cultural, education, economic, and humanitarian exchange, strong community engagement and support for sustain the relationship, a balance of geographic and cultural diversity among partners, long-term viability through volunteer leadership and community partnership, and alignment with Iowa City commitment to human rights, climate action, and global cooperations. And to maintain accountability, at least one current city council member will serve as a voting member on the nonprofit organization board. And the organization must either have or be sponsored by a qualified 501c3, and they don't have to be their own 501c3. I think the discussion was said they can join James King or any another organization that can be physical sponsor. Finally, any new sister city partnership will require a majority voting of the city council before the mayor is authorized to sign an agreement. And the city council will also have the authority to end any partnership by majority vote if needed. So this approach allows interested residents and organizations to drive the program through volunteer energy and community leadership while maintaining oversight and alignment with the city priority. And we can answer, the mayor and I can answer any questions. So, and we have also Tony's here, so if you can give a comment, yeah.
When we open up public.
When we open the public comment, yeah, of course.
Any questions at this time by council?
I was just going to ask how you, can you walk us through the partnership process? How you pick a partner and a partner picks you, and what the council interaction would be for that step?
That should be Tony, really. But
Okay.
the nonprofit, they will evaluate that. So, and after that, they send the recommendation to us.
Okay.
Yeah, and am I saying it right, Tony? Yeah. So, because it will be really their own nonprofit.
Okay.
A number of the organization, they will set their bylaws and rules, and when Tony say he's gonna talk more about that.
I know that the nonprofit hasn't even been created yet, so probably not. But I do know that a particular city visited here with the prospect of potentially being a sister city. Is that true?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, you remember city from China, they came and they exposed that, but at that time we were not a sister city, like we are not registered with the international sister
Thought it was
city.
Boding, China?
What the name of the?
Boding?
Yeah.
It's like 5 million people live there.
Yes.
So basically Iowa City.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I'm ecstatic about it.
If no more questions, then we will open up public comment at this time, and you'll be allowed up to 3 minutes. Please state your name and city you're from.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, City Management. My name is Tony Joseph. I'm from Iowa City. I grew up in Muscatine, Iowa. I moved there about 8 years ago. I'm passionate about citizen diplomacy and helping our city continue to be a beacon of international growth. We have plenty of organizations in Iowa City that has international component, but Sister City is a people-to-people, friends development. It's not formal like a chamber of commerce or anything like that. It develops. If you travel and you make friends in a city in Munich, let's say you're in Germany, and you want to have Sister City with them, you can develop that relationship. Or with China, with Baoding. So any place like that. So I'm ecstatic that the City Council has agreed to visit this topic. My wish tonight is that you vote in an affirmative way to start the entity, the not-for-profit, which wouldn't cost the city anything. There's mechanisms already in your city, my city, that allows us to form the organization and take baby steps forward until we can establish a funding source and volunteers, create the board. And then the idea is to create the board, gather up cities that we would like to form sister cities with, present them to the City Council. You all make some decisions. We come back to us as yes, no, yes, no. Ideally, initially, we're not going to start with 10 cities, 1 or 2 that people are passionate about, that we can have folks who are in the city willing to put their time and effort in and their money to host guests when they come in. The mayor's role would be to meet them, greet them, the face of the city, right? And so that would be the primary role for the mayor and city council, but the work is done by the volunteer committee and who are passionate about developing more people-to-people relationships throughout the world, not just in one country, but as many places as we can. We have a broad, diverse community of folks from all over the world. It'd be nice to have one from every continent to start with, and then go from there. But I am living proof of someone who was born in a different country and grew up in Iowa, and I want to see more and more people interact globally. So that's, I guess I have 40 seconds left. I'm not gonna keep talking unless, I'll take questions. I don't know if I'm allowed to answer questions. Okay, that's it. Thank you all for your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else like to address this topic? I can just tell him to go sit down and he'll understand. No. Welcome.
Thank you. My name is Mary Gravitt, and I'm from Iowa City. I can't imagine any city wanting to have anything to do with the United States while Trump is in office. I'm sorry, I hate that man. And I've seen what he has done to bring us down to we don't even recognize ourselves. So I wouldn't want to trust anybody who want anything to do with being a relationship with the United States. I love Iowa City, but Iowa City is the only blue city in a red state. Maybe we could do something, by, being friends. But I don't know who would want to be bothered with us. We're in a rotten situation that I have never seen in my life. And we have a man who is president. It's like a joke. We're living in a science fiction. The closest thing I can think of, we're living in Doctor Who, the Tom Baker episodes. So who I mean, I wouldn't trust them. They want to have something to do with this situation. We try, and we want to do good. The majority of Americans want to do good. That's why we had No King Day. That's why we had all the people in Iowa City participating and carrying signs. And people in Iowa, where some of these little towns where Trump got 30% of the vote, but the people came out in March. Maybe some people remember the Americanism that's in their soul that we're all born with over here, and we hear, and some of it is propaganda, you know? But I can't see the idea that anybody in their right mind would want to have anything to do with being related to the United States as long as the Orange Man was there. So we have to consider other things. But, I mean, it's a good idea, but it's not my idea. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else want to address this topic? Seeing no one in person or online, council discussion. I did just want to jump out and say it's been a joy to work alongside Mayor Pro Tem on this and to work with community members on this. Mr. Tony Joseph, really appreciate your passion for this type of really people-to-people partnership. And that's what this is about, is not really governmental relations overall. The one thing that we wanted to ensure with this proposal is that whoever the entity is that they would definitely have some of the things that this council really value, a part of their decision and recommendations. The reality of any sister city is that the mayors of those cities have to sign. And so you'll see the resolution was written in a way where the mayor can't sign until the council majority vote has taken place. And so I think that's how we have our checks and balances for this council. So thanks to Mayor Pro Tem, who really kind of did a lot to really gear us towards this opportunity that we have before us tonight, and that is really allowing it to be a community-led, volunteer-led effort, and for this council to definitely still have those protections in place that will give some accountability. So just wanted to say thanks to everybody, and I'm happy that this is before us tonight, and I will be supporting this opportunity for us.
Sure. Thank you for the work that you guys have done on this. This will be a cool program. Community comment reminded me of a line from Groucho Marx. I never want to belong to any club that will have me. But that aside, I think that actually speaks to why a program like this is different and can be good, because certainly our leaders might not be what we wish, but the people are still good, as Mary pointed out, and want to do good. And so that person-to-person, more personal connection is, that's the kind of diplomacy we can still do and be proud of. So thank you for this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll also say I totally agree with the sentiment that when I just recently went to Japan and Korea, and I was kind of worried, like for this American band playing and just American people, if they were going to be like, you have to answer for this, or what are y'all doing? I think I was very heartened to the entirety of the reception we got was one of, are you okay? and we see that we know that we're just people, and when we were in South Korea, they recently just had a coup attempt, and they have crazy stuff going on in their country too. So it's I think generally people in other areas are just not what their leaders are, and we're all just working people, and we have more in common with each other than our leaders. So that's why I adore this idea, and I can't wait to see what comes of it.
I just remember when this was brought to council, and we're kind of trying to problem solve in the moment or surface at least all the questions. What is this going to look like and how is this? And it was a lot. There were a lot of questions about how are we going to make this work? We can't be the ones to make it work, et cetera. So I am just incredibly impressed with the amount of work that has been done to unknot all of the issues and to create a clear path where there is collaboration and there's support from the city, but it is not city-driven, which really speaks exactly to not just the spirit, but the letter of what a sister city is, which is that it is people to people. So just thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, Mayor, Tony, and everyone else, if there are others involved in sort of working through all of these logistics, because there were a lot of them and they were very complex, but how do we make this work? And this is very impressive. And I think now more than ever is when we have to say, well, let's just do it ourselves, because man, relying on so-called leaders isn't the right thing to do. So thank you for the work you've done.
Thanks for figuring it out and bringing it back.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, that's what she said. I just did it with a lot more words.
Yeah.
I just did it with a lot more words.
Yeah, I also am, if one thing did give me anxiety is like, how are we going to choose one city? But now that I know it's not just one city that we have to pick, I don't know, it makes me even more excited.
Yes.
All right. Roll call, please.
Burgess.
Yes.
Harmson.
Yes.
Moe.
Yes.
Sala.
Yes.
Teague.
Yes.
Wyline.
Yes.
Alter.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. All right. We're on to item number 12, which is council appointments. 12A is Housing and Community Development Commission. There is one vacancy to fill an unexpired term upon appointment through June 30th, 2027.
I would really recommend Jeremiah and Disley, I think.
Inslee?
Yes.
I'd like to also throw out Stacy Kaiser.
She was the 14 and a half years with the Quad Cities Housing Not-for-Profit. That one jumped out at me, too.
She was in the Quad Cities. There's another one who's also from the Quad Cities. I know this indirectly through community bonds, what have you. Althena Bond. I think actually it's Eilers in the application. Also a Quad City person who did a lot with sort of grassroots organizing. So it's not reflected in the application. So I recognize that my extra bit there may not apply, but I just wanted to put that plug in.
I just feel like Jeremiah, he used to work also at the shelter house, and he know like a lot, like when it comes to homes and, houses, the needs. And he also like a transportation advocacy person. And
I had Athena Bond and Stacy Kaiser as my top two.
So right now I have Athena Bond at 2, Jeremy Inslee at 1, and Stacy Kaiser at 3. And that was just going off of you two and now Councilor Burgess. Any other nominations of individuals? Quite the impressive group.
Again.
Always.
Yes. I mean, I think we have all the ones that are submitted so far. I think they have great opportunities to really lend their voice and expertise to this commission. I'll throw my support behind Stacy Kaiser, which brings us to 4. And so with that, can we have a motion to appoint Stacy Kaiser to the Housing and Community Development Commission?
So move.
Moved by Saleh.
Second, Harmson.
Seconded by Harmson. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. We're at item number 12B, Airport Zoning Commission. One vacancy to fill a 6-year term, January 1st, 2024 through December 31st, 2029. Council discussion.
How about Isaac Medina?
I know.
I would do that.
Second.
Yes, all right. Any other, well, there's no other nominations, so any other discussion on this? Just wanted to know if we have other, at least four supporting?
Sure.
Yes, all right.
Yes.
Can't assume. So, all right. So could I get a motion to appoint Isaac Medina to the Airport Zoning Commission?
So moved. Alter.
Second, Mo.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. We are on to item number 13, which is announcements of vacancies new. Planning and Zoning Commission, one vacancy to fill an unexpired term upon appointment through June 30th, 2026. And applications must be received by 5 p.m. Tuesday, December 2nd, 2025. And you can go to our city's website to apply. Can I get a motion to accept correspondence?
So moved, Burgess. Second, Alter.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Item number 14, announcements of vacancies previous. 14A, we have Airport Zoning Board of Adjustment, one vacancy to fill a 5-year term. Board of Adjustment, one vacancy to fill a 5-year term. Board of Appeals, one vacancy to fill a licensed electrician for a 5-year term. Climate Action Commission, 3 vacancies to fill 3-year terms. Human Rights Commission, 3 vacancies to fill 3-year terms. Parks and Recreation Commission, 3 vacancies to fill 4-year terms. Public Art Advisory Committee, 1 vacancy for an at-large representative to fill a 3-year term. Public Art Advisory Committee, 1 vacancy for an art or design professional to fill 3-year terms. Senior Center Commission, 2 vacancies to fill 3-year terms. Applications must be received by 5 p.m. Tuesday, October 28th, 2025. Airport Zoning Board of Adjustment, 1 vacancy to fill a 5-year term. Board of Appeals, 1 vacancy for an HVAC professional to fill an unexpired term. Historic Preservation Commission, 1 vacancy for Brown Street representative to fill a 3-year term. Historic Preservation Commission, 1 vacancy for a Jefferson Street representative to fill a 3-year term. Historic Preservation Commission, 1 vacancy for a Woodlawn Avenue representative to fill a 3-year term. Vacancies will remain open until filled. We are at item number 15, City Council information.
I would just like to highlight that the voting for recertification of Iowa City's AFSME is happening right now. So if you are a city employee, know that you should go vote yes to recertify.
All right. Hearing no other announcements, we're at item number 16, report on items from city staff. City Manager's Office,
Not tonight, thanks.
City Attorney,
Me neither, thank you.
all right, and City Clerk. We're at item number 17. Can I get a motion to adjourn, which is about, what, 7? We'll say 7:28? 7:27?
So moved. Let's not delay this.
Second.
Moved by Mo, seconded by Burgess. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0.
Were you trying to string that out until it was 7:30?
No.
Right.